Your daily dose of sports talk is here. Highlights, interviews, and analysis. From the entertainment capital of the world, SportsWrap with Jason Page starts now.
Yes, it does, and great to have you with us on this Monday edition of the show. So much to talk about over the next 60 minutes, and glad to do it with you on over 270 affiliates around the U.S. and Canada. Those of you watching on YouTube, we appreciate you as well. And if you're listening to the podcast on your podcasting choice or place of where you listen to your podcast, your podcasting spot of choice, we appreciate you doing that as well. A lot of baseball, trade deadline on this Monday, and as I always admonish our audience, because of the fact that we tape the show and it goes out to affiliates around 3 p.m. Eastern, there might be a couple of deals that we don't get to in this show. We will cover them on Tuesday's show because the trade deadline is at, I believe, 6 p.m. Eastern on Monday. So, again, some of you may be seeing this, say, hey, they didn't mention that deal. They didn't mention that trade. You have to understand, because it's a syndicated show, it goes out at certain times. Always want to make sure I preface everything we do in the show on days like this. There's like 6 or 7 days out of the year where we have to deal with this stuff, and trade deadline day is usually one of them. David Aardsma will be here in less than 10 minutes to talk about all things trade deadline related. You'll want to definitely listen to that and watch that conversation. Sam Yarnell will be here later. We'll get his thoughts on the trade deadline. Also, the WNBA. What a game between the Lynx and Fever on Sunday. But it's all being overshadowed by this conversation about transgender athletes in sports. You can thank Sophie Cunningham for that. All of that plus odds and ends, but we start things out as we always do on this Monday edition of the show. It's time for the big story. And the big story is presented by the Daily Wrap, our Substack newsletter, Monday through Friday. What are you waiting for? If you have not checked it out, go and subscribe. Scan the QR code. It's so simple. You have your phone in your hand. You're watching us on TV. Scan the QR code. Easy as that. And you'll be able to get the daily newsletter for this show Monday through Friday. It is fantastic. It's free. So many people charge for Substack content. We're not doing that. Yet. Eventually we might. As of now, we are not. So go subscribe and get into it. The daily Substack newsletter. Our audience is growing every day, and we appreciate you checking it out. All right. MLB Trade Deadline Day. This August 3rd, 2026. All the deals that are fit to print. You've seen it all by now. It's Skubal moving to the Dodgers. Luis Garcia Jr. to the Yankees. With Kevin Gausman going from the Blue Jays to the Chicago Cubs. Cubs trying to put their footprint on this trade deadline. And José Soriano to the Blue Jays. So they get rid of Gausman. They bring in Soriano. That's an upgrade for them. And the Blue Jays saying, hey, we're not bowing out of this thing just because we gave up on Kevin Gausman. We go and get Soriano instead. It's a great move, I think, by those teams. But the overwhelming conversation leading into this trade deadline day is unlike any trade deadline day that I could remember in the last 30 years that I've covered baseball and talked about baseball. And that is the fact that there is a looming work stoppage next year. And that is hanging heavy like a black cloud over this trade deadline day. Because the Tarik Skubal move to the Dodgers is, for a lot of people, the final straw on why baseball needs a salary cap and a salary floor and changes in the way that teams are able to manipulate the ways that they pay people. Deferred salary, things like that. This is something that's going to come to a head in this offseason. And as much as today should be about celebrating baseball and this great day, trade deadline day, where a lot of times you find out who contenders are and who teams that start to realize they're not contenders are. Usually this is the day you start to get that sense. But instead, we're kind of reading the tea leaves. what teams might do at this trade deadline if you see teams that are willing to get rid of stars that maybe only have a year and a half left on their deal. Let's say your deal expires at the end of 27 and you could offload that salary, and you're a contender that may not necessarily spend a lot and may not necessarily bring on heavy salaries, and your indications from Major League Baseball and among your collection of owners is there's not going to be baseball next year. Well, if you start to see that writing on the wall, maybe you're a smaller market team like the Rays, or a team like the White Sox that doesn't have a huge payroll, or a team like the Mariners that doesn't typically take on huge numbers. Maybe you're one of those teams and you say, all right, we'll trade for a big star that might not have been available otherwise. Even though we'll take on huge salary, we'll part ways with the prospects because there's not going to be baseball anyway next year and we're not going to have to pay them. You see, there's another dynamic. This is something that's never existed, because if you have to pay him for all of next year, well, then it just crushes your payroll. You can't pay a guy $30, $40, $50 million. No. But if you only have to pay him for the rest of this year, and you already know in the back of your mind, there ain't going to be baseball next year, it could change the way you operate here in the final hours leading up until the trade deadline. So when we do the final autopsy on all of this, that's going to be something worth watching. Maybe it doesn't happen at all. And maybe teams are still playing it cautiously, not knowing whether or not there's a work stoppage next year. But to pretend it isn't part of the dynamic would be silly. And for a lot of teams, the Dodgers getting Skubal is the final straw. For a lot of fans, it's the final straw. Rightly or wrongly, because at the end of the day, he's only making, $10 million this year. So it's not like they're taking on and absorbing some huge contract for the rest of this year. But they're probably going to re-sign him, or they're certainly going to be the favorites to re-sign him. And they're going to, get him at an extremely high rate, and that Dodger payroll is just going to continue to skyrocket. So the Dodgers want to get it in now, before whatever new system takes effect. Because that's going to be a whole nother can of worms for baseball teams. If a salary cap is set at a certain number and then teams are over that cap, how's baseball going to handle that? It's just one of many things they're going to have to figure out as they move forward into what is a very wild offseason ahead. That's the big story. Stick around. We're coming back. David Aardsma, former big league reliever and closer with SiriusXM MLB Radio. SportsWrap goes inside baseball on this Monday for a change. All right, continuing on this Monday edition of the show, MLB Trade Deadline Day, the usual asterisk that goes next to this show. It's like 5 or 6 shows a year where this happens, David Aardsma. Former big league reliever and closer, hangs out with us on the program. I got to ask you, are you coloring your beard?
Yes.
Tell the truth.
Okay. So this one was an experiment. I've done it before.
You did it!
I like
it!
A little bit. So this one, though, I will fully admit, experiment. My wife wants to not have to go to the hairdresser every time a little gray shows, and she asked me to experiment on my beard to see how the color looks. It's too dark. It's too much. I like a little gray, but not. This is just way too dark, dude.
Yeah.
This doesn't look right.
I knew it.
I used to look like this, and it looks weird. This is what it used to look like, and now it just looks wrong.
Yeah, it looks it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Just again, we're breaking down the fourth wall here.
I like it. I like the dark. I don't like this dark, or I like a little gray showing it. This is a
little gray is good.
I'm going on TV tomorrow, right? I'm doing. I'm going to be on ESPN in a week. You can't do this to me. And she goes, let's find out what it looks like.
All right, fair enough. I've thought about doing it with mine because I have a lot more gray showing when it grows out. But I was just curious. All right, the audience is like, wow, we're getting grooming tips in this segment. So David Aardsma, I texted you. I was at a party the other night, and I texted you when this trade came down. Tarik Skubal. I mean, look, we all knew he was moving, and a lot of us figured he was moving to the Dodgers. I said it last week on the show. I thought that's what was going to happen. So the deal has happened. Do you feel like, first of all, a lot of people are crushing the Tigers because they don't think they got enough? Try and explain it to some people why this is the deal they ultimately wound up getting, and is it a good deal? Is it a bad deal? How do you view it?
There's two sides. I think the big thing is what we think they should get for him versus what the market is showing. I guarantee you they were talking to 29 teams and trying to figure out what was going out there. Maybe the Rockies weren't involved in it. They were talking to all the players. They were talking to all the big teams that are in the playoff run. Guarantee you they had phone calls. They'd already gone through everything. I do think they probably pushed it a little early. I think they probably pulled the trigger. They had to have believed this was the best move they're going to get. For how great Tarik Skubal is, let's talk about two things. One, they're going to lose control of him in a couple months. So the Dodgers, even though the Dodgers have him, they're going to lose control of him, and he's going to be a free agent. Whether we actually play baseball or not, that's a whole nother conversation. But then the Tigers had to have seen this move and say, hey, this helps us. We believe in these players. Remember, just because they might not be the number one prospect for one team, that doesn't mean the Tigers don't have them as the number one prospect. Every team is scouting every other player and ranking them as well. And they might see something here that they love. They might have had these guys on their radar for a long time. And then they jump on this trade. I do think they could have gotten more. I think they should have waited the market out because as we're seeing, there's a couple good pitchers that were getting traded, but there's not big boy names. He was the name. I think you could have held teams by a little bit shorter of hairs. But you know what? Sometimes you see the trade, you see the one you want, and you pull the trigger early. I always like early trades. I hate when teams sit there and wait, and then they kind of get stuck with players. I like early trades.
Can I ask you this? And I don't know if you've been on a team where this has happened at the deadline, like the Tigers are, where you trade away one of your best players. If there's a situation that you can recall or recollect on being in this sort of situation where the Tigers are 3 games out of a wild card spot. They're not dead in the water by any stretch of the imagination. They could still make the playoffs. Have you been in a situation like that, and what is that locker room moment like? Could it go one way where they say, they've given up on us, let's prove them wrong, or is it, they've given up on us, we're going to sleep?
Tigers are not far away from a playoff spot without a doubt, but you don't see this changing a whole lot. They've had a pretty good run this last 10. I've been on teams where you feel like you're in it about a week before the end of the trade deadline, and then things just fall apart. You get a couple of those bad losses, a 9-8 loss in 11 innings, and then you just know. The wind's out of your sails. And then when I was on the Mariners, we were completely out of it, but we had Cliff Lee. And that's as big of a name as it's going to get.
Sure.
And we moved him, I think it was a year after Cy Young or whatever it was, or 2 years after Cy Young. So you've had those things happen in the locker rooms. When I was on the Mets, we felt like we were in it until the trade deadline coming up. And then we just had this horrible little finish, and then everybody gets traded. So there's teams like that. I've never been on a team that this close and that far like that. You can kind of smell it, especially in this day and age with all these playoff spots. That's got to be tough for the locker room. That's got to be really tough. And I guarantee you there's not that feeling of, all right, guys, let's prove them wrong. You're just any veterans walking in come on. He's our dude. He's the man. And you kind of feel like they are abandoning you.
This is where your manager earns his money.
Yes.
This is where a manager's got to try and keep that thing together and try to push them across the finish line to see if they could still be that third wild card. Because after the Yankees, then you've got the Red Sox. And then, that third wild card spot really is up for grabs. When you talk about the Mariners, the Astros, the Rangers, the Tigers, there's a lot of
Twins,
teams there.
The Mariners, the Orioles, they're all ahead of them. And that's the only thing is there's so many teams ahead of them. And then the team right behind you, the Blue Jays, got, I think, significantly better. Significantly, I think they got better definitely in the long run. And so that's that hard part when you're seeing these other teams make a move or do something too, and you're like, God, where are we at? We can't beat them already. And then we have to keep our player and then lose out on all and prospects. And I get why the Tigers did it.
I only got a minute here, so we might carry this one into the next segment, but what'd you think of the Yankees getting Luis Garcia Jr. and what he adds to that lineup? But where are you putting him when he's a first baseman? You've already got Goldschmidt, who's playing against lefties. You got Ben Rice doing his thing, having an MVP caliber season. I mean, where's Garcia going to play?
That's the problem, is he can't play first base long-term on this team. Ben Rice, I'm not moving Ben Rice. Once we get, Stanton or once we get Judge back, and then Ben Rice isn't going to be DH. I take a chance and see where his athleticism is. I believe he's had time in the middle infield in the minors, before this. And so I'm going to take a chance and try to see if he can play some middle infield, see where we're at with that, see if he's a long-term option somewhere else. But I love him as a player, and I love that move.
All right. There is more to get to. As we mentioned, the Blue Jays made a move that was significant in terms of not just this year, but next year, as they're still trying to hunt down one of these wild card spots. The Cubs go and jump into the fray, as do the Phillies. We'll get to all of it as we continue. Rolling along on this Monday edition of Sports Wrap. It's a special edition of Inside Baseball on this Monday because of the trade deadline. We get David Aardsma hanging out with us, former big league reliever and closer, MLB Radio on Sirius XM. You'll also see him in the regionals at the Little League World Series in San Bernardino coming up. Is that next week?
Next weekend. Yep.
Awesome. I will be watching.
The Mountain Regional, so come on. Colorado, my own hometown state.
Sign
I don't
me
say
up.
hometown, my hometown,
Yeah,
my home state.
Yeah, I got you. So let's talk a little bit about some of these other moves that took place. We got into the Yankees. We got into the Dodgers. You've got José Soriano on the move from the Angels, who will sell anything that isn't bolted to the floor. I wonder if Joe Adell gets moved at the deadline too. That's another name I'm kind of
Adell.
No.
Well, Neto, maybe Adele. I see Adele less.
I love Joe Adell. I still believe it. I still believe, man. You put that guy in the right spot with a good team. Mm-hmm. I think as a guy for the rest of this year could be a really good find for somebody. But I don't know what the Angels would want in return. As for Soriano to the Angels for a bunch of prospects, or Soriano to the Blue Jays for a bunch of prospects, tell people if they don't know a lot about Soriano what the Blue Jays are getting here.
They're getting a stud, absolutely 97 to 99 mile an hour pitcher that has been getting better. I know last year didn't have the greatest of years, but he's been super under the radar. I mean, 3.3 ERA pretty much his entire career, and just shoving 3.29 this year. Has figured out how to almost have a winning record on a team that has consistently been losing. And so you're getting a stud. The only problem that he presents is that every now and then he's inconsistent. Every now and then he'll have some walks. So last year had 170 innings with almost 80 walks. And so you'll get some walks, you'll get some deeper counts sometimes, but this is an absolute stud. This is what Kevin Gausman was. And so, and better yet, I actually think they have one of the best trades that this entire market has had so far, because he's controllable. So you have years of control on him. He's on the first year of an arbitration, or second year arbitration. He's $2.9 million. This guy's a 3 ERA with a $2.9 million and throws 100 miles an hour. So he is team controllable. You're going to go through playoff runs with him several years. And that's the thing I like about this move for the Blue Jays, particularly. Yes, you get rid of Gausman, but you're bringing in a step up. So unlike the Tigers, who are behind, or the Blue Jays who are behind the Tigers, they're making the move. They're making a move, and they're getting rid of one asset. They got rid of a lot of money, picked up way less money and a better pitcher. That doesn't mean he's perfect. They did give up their number 2 prospect, but who cares? The number 2 prospect's already behind 2 other guys at shortstop, so it's an expendable prospect.
Knowing that we are in a situation where we tape this show, we're going to miss about 5 hours of potential player movement. We'll cover this tomorrow on the show.
Yes.
But knowing that there are still other moves to be made, could you see Toronto grabbing that third wild card spot? If you believe the Yankees and Red Sox are the favorites to grab the first 2 spots, can you see Toronto still getting that third spot?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, 4.5 games back. I think they're going to be better than the Tigers immediately. They already are today. The Orioles, I think, are going to be making moves. They're out there. Then I just see them having to beat the Mariners, having to beat the Rangers. They're better than the Twins and Guardians every single day of the week.
Wow.
It's just they got to start playing the baseball and get that fire under their butt that they had last year, and go from there.
Yeah, Vladdy's been this year.
That's my problem. You can't be an MVP and keep having these up and down seasons. Like, we don't know who you are, Vladdy.
Yeah.
Are you going to be the greatest player in baseball, or are you going to be this? And I love Vlad. I've watched this kid since he was in AA. Just figure out how to be really consistent. Like, MVPs don't have years like this.
Yeah, I'm with you on it. Gausman to the Cubs.
Yes.
And the Cubs are a sleeper right now. When you talk about World Series picks, and I know you don't get into the odds as much as we do here on the show, you can get the Chicago Cubs right now at 20-1 to win the World Series. Oh my God, it's huge value, especially for a team that just went out and got a pretty good stud pitcher in Gausman.
Like they're 4 games up on the wild card against the Diamondbacks, so they're kind of running away with that. I like the Gausman move. If Gausman can get a little bit of his former self back a little bit, he has a 4.5 this year. If I can get a little bit of that former self back, I love it. Look at this team's IL situation. They've got an entire roster of almost 25 guys hurt, and they're playing great baseball. I do want them to get another bat. They probably need a little bit more something in that lineup, maybe a little pop, maybe a little something that just I've got basically 2 power hitters in that lineup. I need something else if I'm going to win the World Series. If I'm going to line up against the Dodgers, in a 7-game series, I need somebody in the middle of the lineup. I'm like, oh, I don't want to, not this guy, because the Dodgers have 6 of them.
What do you say to people that look at the Skubal move? And I want to finish with this in the last couple of minutes. This is why we need a salary cap in baseball, a floor and a ceiling. I know you're a union guy, but you've got to understand there's people on the other side of this that are saying something has to change, and this is going to be the impetus for it, is what the Dodgers have done.
Straight up, this has nothing to do with salary cap. The salary cap wouldn't even stop this move. This doesn't change a single thing outside of whatever he'd make this year, and they'd pay a penalty. What this did, this is a move that every single team could have done. There's not a team in baseball. The Rockies could have made a better trade than this. The Rockies could have put up more prospects. The Rays would have put up more prospects. By the way, that's an incredible trade, the Peralta trade to the Rays, because the Rays are going to turn him around.
Yeah, we didn't even mention that. Yeah.
He's about to have a 2 ERA the rest of the year. Just wait. Just watch that stuff happen. But this is a trade that every team could have made. This wasn't this blockbuster trade for the Dodgers side, giving up these incredible prospects. They're okay. And they're good. But every team had 4 good prospects that they could have moved. And this is the problem. We're going to see this move and go, the Dodgers. And I will get this saying, so everybody else, come on. Everybody else the Cubs could have made that trade. The Angels could have made that trade. They had so many,
Yankees could have, yeah.
Yankees easily could have made this trade.
Not that they needed it. They got a great rotation.
But this is where I sit back and look at this and go, every team could have had him. You let the Dodgers get him. The Dodgers just put up a good offer, and no one else put up a better offer. That's the bigger problem. Or the only other argument I have right now is that there was collusion, and somebody wanted this trade to make Major League Baseball wanted this trade to make sure happen. But I'm seeing too many other good trades for me to point on that. And again, I still point to this. The Dodgers were 1 out away 2 years in a row from not winning the World Series. So let's not sit here and go like the Dodgers are the greatest thing that will ever happen.
David Aardsma, Sirius XM MLB Radio, here with us every Wednesday and even on a Monday today. Always appreciate you, my friend.
Dude, thank you.
Welcome back to the show. The baseball conversation continues. You didn't think we were going to get through a trade deadline Monday without talking to this guy, did you? Sam Yarnell is here. Reaction to the trade deadline news from the weekend, because again, we put the show together on Monday mornings, and this is one of those tricky days for us because of the trade deadline taking place later on Monday afternoon. We'll have full reaction on Tuesday's show to everything from the trade deadline. We'll give out our grades and all of that good stuff on tomorrow's show. We'll have plenty more time to do that. But there was huge news from the weekend, Sam. Obviously, the Tarik Skubal news breaking on Saturday night. I was at a birthday party, so I couldn't do anything in terms of really reacting to it. But I mean, look, were we really shocked? We kind of knew at this point where he was going to land. We might have been more shocked with just how little it felt like the Tigers got for him when all was said and done. Maybe they could have waited another day or two and driven up the price a little bit. What was your reaction overall on the Skubal to the Dodgers front?
Well, there are so many things here, Jason.
Right.
And first of all, right, I will just say this on its face. We've been talking about nothing but baseball, both on TV and online and everywhere else. Baseball's been at the top of everything, which is good for baseball. So you can at least say that about this deal. I am astounded by the just grossly overwhelming amount of people who talk into microphones who are just misinformed about like the day-to-day operations of Major League Baseball, the history of Major League Baseball operations. It's so crazy to me. It is mind-shattering to me.
All right, explain why. In what regard?
That the predominant narrative, right, again, it is mind-shattering to me that the predominant narrative right after this happened is, oh, well, anybody could have done that. Anybody could have done. And to just throw all of the nuance that goes along with the actual story of the Los Angeles Dodgers is hilarious, honestly. And it just takes the target off of Rob Manfred's back, which is exactly what he wants. Folks, so many people forget this. And again, it all draws back to the worst commissioner in the history of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, when he was an officer in Commissioner Selig's office. We all remember back in 2011, 2012, when Frank McCourt went belly up and the Dodgers went bankrupt, and Major League Baseball stepped in and had to find out what we were going to do with the Dodgers. And oh my gosh, we've got a team in LA that's gone bankrupt. This is a disaster. What everybody seems to forget is the Dodgers were handed the most lucrative TV sports deal in history outside of any NFL contract. It's actually comparable to an NFL contract when you look at the amount of money that the Dodgers make. Now, when you look at the amount of money that the Dodgers make strictly off of their TV money, that again, Major League Baseball handed to them in an effort that was directed by Rob Manfred as an officer of Bud Selig's commissioner's office. When you look at that money, it is in excess of $100 million more than the next closest team, your beloved New York Yankees, my friend Jason Page. What I am saying here is, yes, everyone can say until the cows come home, anyone could have traded better prospects than the Dodgers. There is a massive catch-22 here, folks, because going into quite literally every offseason, the Dodgers have an 8-figure difference with what they can spend, with the money they have made based off of the previous season. They can go out and, as we saw this past season, spend more money than every other team on the marquee free agent, Kyle Tucker. And even when he blows up, Kyle Tucker has had a horrible season for them. He's hitting 6th in their lineup. His batting average is right around 200 right now, Jason. They paid that man a historic amount of money. He is a blow-up contract for them, and they're still the favorites to win the World Series. This is the problem with baseball. This is why, again, we're going to need the owners and the players union to step in to clean up the commissioner's mess, because we can draw this all back to Rob Manfred's actions. We can pretend this and pretend that about, oh, the Yankees could have given up better prospects than the Dodgers did. Oh, the Rays could have given up, the Brewers could have given up 10 times better prospects than the Dodgers did. Sure, they could have. Here's the thing. All those teams need to keep their prospects because they can't let the big dogs out west use that money that Major League Baseball gave them to outbid those teams and take them in free agency. It's such a catch-22 here, and the only way that it gets solved is a lockout, which is what I've been saying for years at this point.
You're a Nats fan. What'd you think of them trading Luis Garcia Jr. to the Yankees and what they got in return?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good return. I'll tell you that. And a lot of Nats fans are very happy. It's the return the Nats needed for a guy like Luis Garcia Jr., who is not going to be a long-term fit in that offense. Listen, I will credit Paul Taboni for this, and he did the same thing with Curtis Mead. This is a guy who is maximizing value like nobody's business. The Nationals talked about non-tendering Luis Garcia Jr. last offseason. Curtis Mead was DFA'd by the White Sox. The Nationals just flipped both of those guys for a combined 5 prospects who will help you as early as next season. I like what the Nationals have going on, and Louis is going to benefit from that short porch in right field. He loves to pull the ball.
Gausman to the Cubs. I mean, Chicago making moves.
That's a fun one, Jason. That's when we do our recaps tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's gonna do numbers in terms of the Cubs' grade. This has a chance to be the most fun move of the deadline if Kevin Gausman can find what he had, right? He's got to take a step in the backwards kind of motion, but this has a chance on its face to be the most difference-making move to me.
The Dodgers plus 155 to win the World Series right now. The Yankees, the next best odds at plus 550, followed by the Braves at plus 850 and the Brewers at plus 950. Sam, you got 10 seconds.
I wouldn't touch the Dodgers.
There's no value. I agree. We got more to do. We'll do it next. Welcome back. We'll wrap it up with some odds and ends before we say goodbye. Sam Yarnell. Yeah, what blows my mind about this WNBA story that we're about to talk about, a couple things I want to talk about, actually. Because lost in all of this WNBA transgender conversation that just continues to go on and on, is that there was an amazing game in the WNBA yesterday, and there's been a lot of good games lately. You had the Lynx and the Fever, which is a potential WNBA finals preview. It could be a WNBA semifinals preview. They could meet in the playoffs. There was a fantastic game on Sunday between the Lynx and the Fever. The Lynx win their 10th in a row. Courtney Williams was fantastic. Fee was great. The Lynx are really good, and the Fever aren't far behind them. That was a terrific basketball game. But, of course, it's all lost because, Sam, you've got this conversation that will not go away with media people, namely conservative media people who are trying to stir up trouble, which I did a SportsWrap big story, additional big story on over the weekend, who are trying to drum up controversy. Because this is a problem. This is a solution that people are trying to create for a problem that doesn't exist. And that is, there are no transgender females in the WNBA, and nobody that is a transgender female is trying to play in the WNBA. So this is a non-issue. Okay, when you start hearing, well, should there be men and women's locker rooms? Should the WNBA allow a transgender player? No. So I say this again: the league, Adam Silver, Kathy Engelbert, they've got to be so pissed off right now at Sophie Cunningham for what she has wrought, what she has brought to the WNBA vis-a-vis this conversation, because now every team's getting asked about it. Every coach is being asked about it. Every player's being asked about it. And it's taking the shine off what should be right now a really exciting season for the league, Sam.
All right, I got bad news. And there may be some viewers that are unhappy about this. I couldn't really give you a good reason. I've been very tuned out on this entire thing. I think I've missed a solid 90% of it. I don't really understand it. I 100% with you don't understand the whole point of it. Last time I checked, there's never been a transgender person who's tried to play in the NBA or WNBA. So yeah, that's why I'm confused. The only thing, listen, this is the only thing I'll take away as our resident young person, as the person who's perpetually online on this show. Every time, and this is what Sophie Cunningham has to do better of. You got to get a better PR team. Every time you are online, every time people talk about you online, you think you're doing something and people just make fun of you for it. And like, this isn't the first time. Like, I've seen a bazillion memes of this woman, whatever. Like, apparently she got punched in the face or something and then called for the foul. Hilarious. So WNBA. But like, yeah, she got made fun of online for that. And then the last thing I can remember her getting made fun of online for was like, she did this whole massive spread with Sports Illustrated, and whatever, man. Like, it's Sophie Cunningham. You got to get better PR people. You got to understand when you're going to get made fun of online and when you're not, and like what corners of the internet are like actually matter and don't, because right now you got like the wrong corner of the internet on your side, and you have like the majority of the right corner of the internet just against you and making fun of you, and that's never a good place to be. So PR 101, Sophie Cunningham, hire new PR people, because my God, everyone makes fun of you online all the time for everything. And that's really all I have to offer, because again, I've been super tuned out on all this.
Well, let me say this. Conservative Twitter loves her. And the conservatives adore her because, she's taken the mantle for something that they've been trying to, one of these culture war things that they've been trying to drum up. I have two things here on this that have to be said, because there is an incredible hypocrisy in all of this, and here it is. Sophie Cunningham is supposed to be now pro-woman. She is the advocate. She is the face of sports people being pro-woman, right? She's the example everybody should follow. But Sam, here's the problem. She was a ring girl for UFC 239. Dana White's company.
Got made fun of online for that.
But here it is. She was a ring girl for that UFC event. For Dana White's company. The same Dana White who's seen on video slapping his wife across the face. 1. 2, Conor McGregor is also in that fight. He is the main event of that fight, in which she is marching around the octagon for. Do we need to go any further on Conor McGregor's history?
Wait, hold on. Okay, respectfully, Sophie Cunningham, I was not familiar with your game. Sophie Cunningham is 29 years old, averaging 9-2-1, getting 23 minutes and 9. What? We're not going to be talking about this woman for much longer. There's not much career left there. What are we doing here,
No.
Jason?
She's a big piece of their depth.
This is genius. Okay, now I see what you're doing, Sophie Cunningham. You take advantage of the fact that everyone's looking at your team because you're on Caitlin Clark's team. You realize that you don't have much left in the tank in terms of a career, so you branch out and try to plan for your post-career. That's actually very smart. I respect that, Sophie Cunningham. You're just trying to set up a career for yourself. Now I get it. It all clicked. Now I feel contextualized. I'm glad we did this segment together.
Sophie Cunningham may not be as glad. She also took a photo with Riley Gaines yesterday. If you need to do any research on Riley Gaines, go and do your research on Riley Gaines.
She did?
Yes, she did a photo.
Good.
Yeah, she did a photo with Riley Gaines. Yeah, the PR people at the Fever must have been thrilled with that. Odds and ends are next. Welcome back to the show. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Monday. Tomorrow we will have a full recap on the trade deadline for the winners and losers, latest from NFL training camps, and a whole bunch more. Some reminders before we go. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. The place to find the audio version of this show, Monday through Friday, 45 minutes, limited commercial interruptions, all the interviews, all the conversation, commentary that you've come to know and love. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show in crystal clear audio Monday through Friday. We encourage you to do so. We also have the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. This is the place to find all things video related to this show. The Monday through Friday TV version of the show, available whenever you want it, Available early in the afternoon, a lot of times before it's even available on TV, with no commercial interruptions whatsoever. We've also got extended conversations. We've got the big story. We've got SportsWrap Originals. We have SportsWrap Shorts. There's so much content beyond the TV show for you to go and check out at SportsWrap, the SportsWrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Please do so. The website, sportswrap.tv. This is the place to find all things related to the show. The Monday through Friday TV version of the show is available on the website. So are SportsWrap Shorts. So are affiliate listings. You want to know where to find the show in your particular market on over 270 affiliates in the U.S. and Canada. All you got to do is go to the SportsWrap website. SportsWrap.tv has all the information. You could also sign up for our Substack newsletter there. The Daily Wrap is there. You can go and sign up for that. You want to comment on the show? You want to send us a suggestion? A like, a dislike, love, hate? I don't care. Do it at the bottom of that webpage, sportswrap.tv. And without any further delay on this Monday edition of the show, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, if you're a fan of the United States men's national team when it comes to soccer, you may like this news. Mauricio Pochettino has been signed through the 2030 World Cup. Look, the United States went to the what would be soccer's version of the Sweet 16, and obviously lost there. But still, enough progress to be seen that the U.S. men's national team, that USA Soccer, could see that Pochettino was the guy for this job. This was a fait accompli. I don't think this was ever in doubt as to whether or not he would be back. So he is back through the 2030 World Cup, which to me will be the real test of whether or not this is real or whether it's a blip on the radar with the U.S. being the host team for the World Cup and just sort of a quick ebb and what has been an ebb and flow of mediocrity for U.S. men's soccer has been, this year, there was improvement, noted improvement, noticeable improvement in the way this team played. And with the combination of athleticism and soccer skill that we saw from this team. So I have no issue with Pochettino getting a deal through 2030. I'm anxious to see what he can do to take this thing to the next level. Odds and ends, Victor Wembanyama in the news. He didn't do anything wrong, don't worry. The NBA's future biggest star of the game, face of the league, look at that. He didn't do anything wrong. Chris Bosh, who basically had to retire from the NBA as a result of blood clots, has come out and he's given a bit of a warning to Victor Wembanyama, and that warning is, take your meds. And you know what? It's a great message from Chris Bosh. While a lot of people say his blood clot situation, and surgeons say his blood clot situation was different from that of Victor Wembanyama, the reality is taking your medicine is important. No, I take medication every day for treating different things and keeping my health in check. And Victor Wembanyama, despite the fact that he's so young, is going to have to be extremely vigilant when it comes to making sure he is taking his medication. Very important for Victor Wembanyama. So I have no problem with Chris Bosh saying that, even if their situations are different in terms of how one of them dealt with blood clots and the type of blood clots and how the other is dealing with them. Good job by Chris Bosh putting that out there. Jadeveon Clowney going to sign with the Texans, or is signed with the Texans for the upcoming season. Going home, going back to where it started in the late stages of his career. And look, it just bolsters the depth for one of the best, if not the best, defensive team in all of the NFL. I mean, you got to be pretty thrilled if you're a Texans fan that you're talking about a guy in terms of just depth and what Jadeveon Clowney could still provide, maybe as a third down guy for this team. You still don't want to see him coming after you if you're one of the opposing team's quarterbacks. So I think a great move for the Texans. Probably not paying him a whole heck of a lot of money at this stage of his career. I didn't see the financial terms on it, which maybe I should have seen. But if you're the Houston Texans and a fan of the Texans, I think it's a great deal for them. What are their Super Bowl odds while we have a second here? Where do they got Houston and C.J. Stroud? You can get them at 18-1 right now, folks. 18 to 1 on the Houston Texans, according to our friends over at FanDuel. So if you're feeling froggy, want to jump on the Texans? 18 to 1 is the number right now for them to win the Super Bowl. And that's going to do it for us on this Monday edition of the show. Thank you to David Aardsma, former big league reliever and closer, for hanging out with us. Sam Yarnell, as always, and all of you at home for watching. Full coverage of the MLB Trade Deadline on tomorrow's show. Everything from NFL training camps and a whole bunch more. But until then, I'm Jason Page. Thanks for hanging out with us on Sports Wrap. Bye-bye.